calculating in loss and damage?
Thank you very much, Rafi. I hope everybody can hear at the back. Not that there's much depth to you, but yeah. So I think getting right into the weeds of this whole debate, I'm concerned, and I'm not responding right away to your question as a good politician. My agenda is the concern that loss and damage remains a feel-good, fuzzy thing to say. And it's got to move beyond that. It's got to move beyond a bumper sticker for what can be done for the global south, for the bargain that's broken between the global north and the south, and I'm very clear it has. Why? Because you mentioned Pakistan's needs. Now, we can't just showcase Pakistan's needs, but just very quickly, we all know, you've been watching the flood video, we've come out with a catastrophic, record-breaking, century record-breaking flood. And where has that taken us? Just our loss and damages estimated by the veritable World Bank are $30 billion. $30 billion is the loss and the damage. It's not the recovery and reconstruction, right? So where do countries go with these huge sums of money, with 1/3 of their terrain literally ripped out because it was inundated, and metal roads gone, taxable income's gone, crops decimated because Pakistan lives off the Indus plain, the floodplains mostly. They irrigate our crops. They turn the wheels of our economy. All gone. Livelihoods completely fractured. And a long shadow of prolonged destitution for women, children, vulnerable communities who live off these. So millions, over 15 million people have gone under the poverty line. With all these figures, there is an overwhelm. And I am sensing that overwhelm from the international community as not as a lack of political will and strategic dithering, but I sense it as a bit of worry that here's the global south pressing hard. This time we are. I see everybody in the audience pressing hard. And we are pressing hard. We're pressing together also. So there's that. There's critical mass to the wheel. And many countries have actually realized, woken up and said, okay, we are committed to changing this dynamic. In changing this dynamic, what's gone on? There's 20 million coming from somebody, 30 million in risk insurance, putting goodwill pockets everywhere, making deposits of what I call rebooted compassion. And then it's all linked to compassion and humanitarian, empathy. So after saying all of that, you ask yourself, what's going on here? Is there no money in the system? That to me is the real question. Obviously the political will that drives it. But is there no money in the system? Right now we are told there isn't in the West also, in the developing countries. And I'm just going to close here and let other people, the experts speak to the problem. It's there for wars. Be very clear. The money will be magically conjured up either through taxation or other, revenue-raising pipelines. The money will be there for wars, and it will continue to feed that beast. Whereas with the big carbon footprint. Last, just to sober everyone's minds, Pakistan's flash appeal just for the humanitarian rehabilitation comes later, but just the relief humanitarian was $816 million. I was in Geneva, we played that video, I made the pitch, people wept, wiped their eyes. We don't even know if it's half of that sum yet, right? But how much did one day of war in Afghanistan next door to us for 20 years spent? 300 million plus. So, less than half a week of that spending that went on for 20 years would have saved lives. I rest my case.
Also remind that when Notre Dame burned down tragically, nearly $1 billion were conjured up within.
There has to be, this is a political wake-up call. These are political decisions. These are not financial decisions. I think that's what you're saying at one level. The entire business of apportioning transfers or resources to the global south in large enough quantums to actually make a difference or shift the needle requires political decision making. This is not a financial decision. This is not even an economic decision. And that's where it's caught up in. It's caught up in the weeds of development and financing and all of us building modalities until next year. That's totally unacceptable. I think that this is the time now to ask for clarity, timelines, benchmark timelines. If the resources are not available, this is not, you know, the whole point is that we can't be making the entire COP27 pivot on an adversarial ask, which is why we have not gone into the business of reparations. We are seeking to build consensus because the whole system is totally hinged on consensus. One country, one vote, one country, one veto. If there's a breakdown, it's all over. Now, without prejudice to longer goals, there should be, what our ask is, there should be enough appetite to hear us from the global south, from the SIDS, from the least developed countries, and from countries like Pakistan, who are literally on the edge of a perilous new frontline to climate risk. Then I think it's time to say that these are political decisions, bogging us down in, but where's the money? Who will it come from? Will the GCF mobilize it? Will the GEF do it? Or will the Adaptation Fund all come later? And when they do come later, when you come to that point, then it should be very clear that as when we tell people, oh, adaptation must be defined from the ground up, it must be local, it must communities, this has got to be more than homilies to each other. Then define damage from the ground up also. The ground up means the global south. It's time for us also to get our act together, which means don't wait for somebody else to define it for you. Work a little late tonight. Thank you very much.